There's no question that the last year has been one full of ups and downs, so in this video we'll take a look at each of the updates of the last year and rank them on a tier list. I'll be ranking them based on a few categories, such as progression, how fun they were, and how hyped they were. Though of course, depending on the updates, some of these categories may not apply. There are 7 updates I'm going to rank, and they will be not ranked in a distributed manner. Meaning, if all 7 updates are S tier or F tier, I'll put them in that tier and not spread them out evenly. Now let's get to the updates themselves. In chronological order, the Katana Kingdom update, the removal of Masteries, the Subway Surfers collab, the Stranger Things collab, the Buffy's update, the 100th Brawler and Trophy rework, and finally the Bling rework. Finally, keep in mind, I'll be keeping it brief for each of these updates so this video doesn't drag on too long. And with all that out of the way, let's get started on the Katana Kingdom update of April 2025. This update was, well, based around the Battle for Katana Kingdom event. This saw a massive new event come to the game, based around Wasabi Powers, which were basically the seasonal power-ups of Brawlers, and Sushi, which were the seasonal RNG. If you want a more detailed breakdown of this event and a lot of the other events shown in the video, check out my videos on them, which will be linked in the description. Anyway, this update also saw the addition of Brawl Arena to the game, as well as 2 new Brawlers being Kaze and Jaeyoung. Finally, the Heist Safe got its shield buff. First of all, the Katana Kingdom event. In the aforementioned video, I had my full thoughts on it, but needless to say, I wasn't impressed. The event was extremely disappointing, and it combined a lot of the worst features from the events before. The Wasabi power-ups made the game feel frustrating and unfun to play, and were very difficult for most free-to-play players to actually obtain. The sushi rolls, which were the main source of progression throughout the event, were mostly useless and a lot worse than some of the other progression sources we've seen throughout other events. The addition of Brawl Arena was an ambitious one, but it did fall a little flat. Having a real MOBA in Brawl had so much potential, but it was wasted a little bit by Brawl's mishandling of it, with poor balancing, crazy gimmicks, and the mode being limited to 3v3. However, I would definitely say it's still an overall good addition to the game, even despite its shortcomings. The 2 new Brawlers were certainly very interesting, but Kaze definitely overshadows Jaeyoung. The release of the Ultra Legendary rarity was definitely a controversial one, and I do still think that it was unnecessary. However, Kaze has a very cool design and is actually really skillful, so she gets a pass. As for Jaeyoung, he's had his time in the top and bottom of the meta, but his major impact on the game was definitely his contribution to power creep older supports are getting. The Heist update was also a very much needed one and helped plug, at least somewhat, the absolute demolition that the Heist safe was receiving at the time. Overall, I would have to give this update a D tier position. It was extremely unfriendly to free-to-play players, wasn't great for progression considering the fact there was a huge event, and the fun was also sucked out by the existence of Wasabis in the oppressive meta at the time, though it did come elsewhere with the addition of Brawl Arena and Kaze. Finally, the hype of the update was high at the time, but sorely disappointing. Second up, we got the June update, most known for the removal of Masteries. This update saw the rework to Trophy Road, the addition of records, and the complete removal of Masteries. This update also saw the addition of Trunk and Alley into the game, and furthermore we got a return to the Angels vs Demons season with the mini event. This update also saw the addition of 2 new game modes, the Night Fight and Dodge Brawl. First of all, the removal of Masteries. This may have been one of their worst ever decisions in the last few years. Masteries were genuinely a great concept, and incentivized simply playing the game through great rewards, leading to what should have been a win-win situation for both sides, people playing for longer and people getting more rewards. But for some flimsy reasons, it was removed, and basically replaced by records and the Trophy Road rework. Records were completely awful, and gave terrible, unjustifiable rewards for a lot of work, especially in comparison to Masteries. The Trophy rework was solid, but just not good enough to justify the removal of Masteries. Honestly, for myself, Masteries was a huge reason I played the game a lot, and removing it started a decline in how much I actually played the game. The Angels vs Demons return was alright, but it was nowhere near the spectacle of the first one, which is fair considering it was a mini event. The new Brawlers were also very underwhelming, and were unfortunately quite irrelevant once they fell from the top of the meta. Also, the new game modes were pretty fun, but nothing too special. Overall, I would have to give this update a fresh F tier position. The removal of Masteries made the game a lot less incentivizing to play, and progression over the long run was slashed as a result. the hype around this update was also at an all-time low. Even before this update was announced, nobody was hyped for the removal of Masteries, and nothing in the update really brought hype back to the game. The next update was the Subway Surfers collab update of September 2025. This update was obviously characterized by the Subway Surfers collab event. This event was based around the collection of rails to unlock boxes as well as other progression and a Jake Ollie skin. The event also had power-ups, of course, which were called Subway Supers. This update also introduced Mina and Ziggy to the game, as well as releasing a new Brawler unlock event alongside them, which saw the use of daily tickets to earn Brawler boxes, which had a small chance of getting the new Brawler, and if you opened enough of them, you would automatically get the new Brawler. Finally, this update also saw the drop of the Brawloween event. This event was based around the collection of candy through daily wins, sugar rushes, and special boss fights. The candy could be used to either get a pumpkin box or a treat box. Overall, this is honestly a very difficult update to categorize. On one hand, you had the Subway Surfer event. This was an extremely mediocre event, and probably one of the most boring events we've ever had, with extremely underwhelming rewards and very repetitive gameplay. However, this update also saw the addition of the Brawler box event. This was honestly a great addition to the game, adding more progression to the game, and giving people a better chance to get Brawlers without having to save up millions of credits, being much more friendly to free-to-play players. However, the Brawlers themselves are very annoying to play against, especially Mina, who was, and still is, an absolute menace. Finally, you had the Brawloween event, which was one of the most fun events in recent times, and gave tons of great progression. As for the hype of the event, it was overall pretty mediocre, as the Subway Surfers collab being leaked beforehand kind of evaporated some of the hype that the update was going to bring. And unfortunately, the Brawloween event didn't have much hype either. Overall, I'm going to give this update a B tier placement. The next update was the Stranger Things update of November 2025. The main event was obviously the Stranger Things collab. This event introduced the Upside Showdown game mode, which was basically Showdown plus roguelite. This event also had its government-mandated RNG and power-ups with Brawler cards and waffles. The new Brawler for this update was Gigi, and there was also a lot of miscellaneous stuff added, such as Trio Wipeout a gem grab, a global hypercharge nerf, a daily win update to give a star drop, or another reward for each win up to 6. Also, they added mega quests, which are self-explanatory. Finally, they also reworked matchmaking and made XP doublers actually double quest XP. Overall, I'm putting this event in the S tier. Yes, it was that good. The Stranger Things event was incredibly well done, with the Upside Showdown game mode being one of their best additions to the game in a very long time. And even to this day, people still want it back. Gigi was a very well designed brawler, though of course, she became irrelevant after she was out of the meta. The miscellaneous stuff added was also incredibly good, especially the daily wins and the hypercharge nerf, which both made playing the game feel a lot better and less like a chore. Finally, the hype definitely came back for this event, as the Stranger Things event at the time was huge, and so the collab was well anticipated. The next update was the Buffy update of December of 2025. This update saw the introduction of Buffies, which I think we all know way too well. This update also saw changes to the Brawl Pass getting buffs, especially with the addition of keys, which allowed you to choose a certain reward based on the type of key. For example, the resource key, which was the only key available to free-to-play players, gave you the choice between coins, power points, and bling. They also introduced the chaos drop, which was basically a sushi combined with a star drop. They also added miscellaneous buffs to the economy, such as through daily wins, mega quests, the trophy road, and the aforementioned chaos drop. This update also saw the introduction of Pierce and Globert, now known as Glowy, to the game. Overall, I would say this was a pretty mixed update. The addition of Buffies was, and still is, very controversial. It added a much needed shake-up to the game and Brawlers as a whole, but at the cost of a much more unbalanced meta. Furthermore, it was especially costly for people to get, especially free-to-play players, who at this rate would never actually be able to max out their accounts. The compensations elsewhere also weren't enough to make up for this, as the main compensation, the chaos drop, was at its very core random, and therefore not reliable enough as a progression source. Pierce was alright, but Globert was pretty interesting actually, even building his own cult fanbase. Finally, the hype around this event was actually quite high, with a huge change to gameplay being promised, and for better or worse, delivered. Overall, I would have to give this update a C tier position. The next update was the 100th Brawler update of March 2026. This update featured a trophy road rework, earning mastery cosmetics from getting more trophies and the ability to flex prestiges. This event also saw rush events for multiple progression items as well as trophies. The Brawlers drop were Sirius, who had his own special event where you could win once with every Brawler and get it for free, and Nagia, who was the other Brawler in the update. Finally, this update also saw the addition of Loaded Showdown. Overall, this update was another C tier update. The trophy road rework wasn't that great and made trophies even cheaper and easier to get. The rush events, however, were a nice addition to the game and simply gave more of an incentive to play the game more, kind of like a certain removed feature. The whole Sirius event was a very unique and really good way of unlocking him. Unfortunately, both him and Nagia broke the meta when they dropped and made playing the game very unfun. Finally, Loaded Showdown. This was a nice breath of fresh air for a mode that needed it, and added a fun element of absolute chaos to the mode, but wasn't enough to exactly save this update. As for the hype associated with this event, it was alright, but it was mainly based around the whole 100 Brawlers thing and Sirius and his lore. The final update was the Bling rework update of April 2026. This update saw a rework to how Bling was spent. There was now a shop where you could spend your Bling for certain skin bundles, which included skins in progression or cosmetics. This update also saw the introduction of the Star Nova event. This event was based around the collection of Nova drops, which could be used to unlock the Void Master Finks skin. This update also featured a collection of bosses, as well as some in-game power-ups where you could transform into one of the Star Girls. There's also the Adidas event, which still hasn't come out yet, but features a new game mode called Super Brawl Ball. Overall, I can't really rank this update considering it's still going, but so far I would say it's at a low B tier. The Bling rework was alright, but it removed a lot of the choice for players in choosing what skin they wanted. The event was also alright, but it just felt like more of the same as the last few events, and the progression wasn't anything crazy. However, I will say the boss fights were done quite nicely with the new 5-person mode, and I will say that the transformation power-up system was really well done, and not reliant on how much you spend on the game. I could definitely see this update being moved up to the higher B tier if the Adidas event is done well, but it still remains to be seen whether that'll be the case or not. And with that, all the updates are officially ranked. Obviously I could have talked more about each update, but this video is long enough as is, and it doesn't need to drag on any longer. Overall though, for the year, it's been more negative than positive. Obviously the main negative were the first 2 updates, but since then there's been a lot of very mediocre and even controversial updates. But to be fair, we've had a few good updates this year as well, so it's really all over the place. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you think about this tier list and whether you agree or disagree with some of these rankings. And as always, if you liked the video, make sure to like and subscribe to help support the channel. If you want to support the content even further, become a member for some special perks like helping out on videos or being in videos themselves. And finally, watch this video, check out this playlist, or join the Discord server, or check out my music channel if you like the music in the video.